Okay, so this is the first of a few little videos just to give you some basic stitches in crochet. So that will enable you to get on with some of the kits that are available on the Cloud9 Knits website. So I'm using some t-shirt yarn today, which is quite chunky, and a 10mm bamboo hook. And the reason I'm using quite a chunky yarn is because I want you to be able to see really clearly what the stitches look like, so that even if you end up using a much smaller hook, like for example this 3mm hook, which comes in the kit to make these little face scrubbies, for example, you're going to be able to recognize on a much smaller scale what the stitches are meant to look like and where you're meant to be putting this hook, basically. So that's why I do everything supersized. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a slip knot. So that's how we're going to get a loop onto our hook nice and securely. So I've got the tail of the yarn here on the right, and I've got the ball over this side here, a large bobbin of t-shirt yarn. And what we're going to do is take the tail end, and I'm just going to fold it over like that to create a loop, and then I'm going to take that loop and I'm going to continue folding over to the left hand side. I'm just going to place it over the top of the working yarn like that, so we get this bar in the middle, and I'm going to take my hook and literally just pop it underneath the bar but over the top of the circle loop that's created there. Okay, and then if I lift that up off the table and I pull on these two strands together, that's going to tighten into a knot. Okay, and then if I pull on the working yarn, I can adjust how tight that loop is on my hook. Okay, so that is a slip knot, and that is our first loop. Okay, so we're ready to rock and roll. Right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is a chain. So a chain is like a foundation stitch for a crochet project, and a chain can be, essentially it can help you mark out almost the width of a project if you've got something that's rectangular or square. So the number of stitches in the chain will be measuring the width, and then you'll grow your stitches on top of that chain. Equally, a chain can often be used to start off a circular project, and I'll show you that in a moment. So let's have a look at how you hold on to your yarn. So your left hand, if you're right-handed that is, your left hand will be managing this strand of yarn. So you will place the yarn across your left hand like that. Okay, then what's going to happen is we need to grab it at some point, and I like to use my little finger to grab it, and then I wrap it around my index finger like that. Now the idea is that you keep some tension here, okay, and then gradually, as you need a bit more yarn, you kind of loosen your little finger and let more yarn come through for you to use with your hook. If you find it uncomfortable to squeeze that little finger in, it can be uncomfortable for a long period of time, then what you can do is actually wrap the yarn around your little finger and then over the top, so it kind of automatically tightens a little bit without you having to actually grab hold of it. Okay, but I like to just grab it like that over the top of my finger like that, and I kind of point my finger up to the top right hand corner of the room almost, and then you've got a thumb and a middle finger here that need to be given a job, so we're going to get them to hold on to the knot of your slip knot like that. So in that nice sort of solid position of your left hand, your right hand is now completely free to move this hook around without anything running away on the left hand side. So now you're going to take your hook and you're going to go into that sort of triangular area. Can you see that shape that's created there? I'll show you with my finger the triangle that I'm talking about. Okay, this hole here created in the middle there, you're going to go into there with your hook. Now it's almost like going under a bridge, and essentially you're going there to grab hold of this yarn. Okay, and as you grab it, you're just gradually going to let it run through your little finger that's grabbing hold of it underneath so that it can come through, and then you're going to pull it back through the loop that is already on your hook. Okay, so that is one chain. We've created one chain. Okay, and if we do that again, so we're going under, grab the yarn, so you make use of that hook on the end to grab the yarn, and I like to twist the hook towards me a little bit, helps move it through, and then you pull it back through the loop that is already on your hook. Okay, and that's chain 2. Let's do another one. So underneath, give a little twist towards me, pull it through, chain 3. Now you can continue and continue as much as the pattern needs. Okay, so you keep making chains, and as you make another chain, you just move your thumb and your middle finger a bit further up to grab hold of the work a bit closer to your hook. You want to be nice and close to the hook, just so that it helps you manage and not have to get your right hand involved in what's happening here. You should have managed everything just by moving this hook around with this hand and not having to actually take your hand off the hook and help things along with your right hand. Okay, so let's just do one more. Okay, so now if you have a look at that chain, it is very similar to a metal chain, if you like. So it's almost got these sort of loops, and they kind of look like little V's, V shapes, if I turn it that way, like a plait. Okay, and the way you count them, if you're unsure of how many you've got, is you ignore the knot at the bottom, and then you count each V. That counts as one chain. So you can count from one side only if you want. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and your working loop. Okay. So some circular patterns ask you to create a chain of a certain number, and then they want you to join that chain into a circle. So what you do is you take your final working loop and your hook, and you're going to basically insert it into the first chain of your work, basically. So ignoring the knot. Okay, there's the knot at the bottom, so we're going to insert it into the very first chain, or the 1, 2, 3, 4th chain in this case from the hook. Okay, so we're going to insert it in there, and often you will be joining with what's called a slip stitch. So you're going to position your hand again, so you're going to get your yarn ready, be holding on to the knot which is closest to where you're working with the hook. Then you're going to grab your yarn, pull it back through that first chain that you made. So now you've got 2 loops on your hook, and then you're going to also pull it back through the loop that is on your hook, creating a sort of a closed loop from where you began. So there's the very end, and this loop is the other end. That's the knot, and that's the last loop we had on the hook. Now we've joined the 2 together, and we've created a little hole in the middle. Okay, so working for a round pattern, depending on what is asked of you, you would be now working into that hole to create your stitches, and you would create each stitch around the outside of this little structure that we've made. Okay, so actually all of this is going to get hidden. It doesn't really matter what this looks like if it's looking a little bit wonky, because all of this is going to get hidden with stitches around the outside. Okay, so this would be a good time for me to show you a double crochet, for example. Okay, so normally around a circle at the beginning of a circular project, you might get asked to do some what are called double crochet stitches around this chain. So to do a double crochet, you keep that circle or the hole in the middle available. Okay, So a double crochet, you go in to the hole and you grab the yarn, pull it up through so you have 2 loops on your hook, and then you grab the yarn again and pull it back through both loops, and that completes your double crochet stitch. So we've done 1. So let's do 6 in total. So we're going to go back into the hole in the center of that circle. We're going to grab the working yarn and pull it up through the hole. We're going to grab again and pull it back through both loops. So pulling it back through both loops completes the stitch. So you can see now we've got 1, 2 double crochet stitches. Let's go into the center again, grab the yarn. So we have 2, and you'll find there are different places you can be putting your fingers to hold it steady, but you want to make sure that these fingers are always kind of quite close to your hook, because if you didn't have any control over this, then this wouldn't be free to move. It would move everything else with it. So you just want to keep it steady basically. So we'll go and complete that stitch. So yarn over and pull through both. So as you can see, we're working around this bottom edge of the circle, and we've created 1, 2, 3 stitches. And if you turn them on their edge like that, they look like another chain, don't they? So they look like these V shapes. So let's go in again. So we're going to go in, grab the yarn. So you have 2 loops, grab the yarn again, pull through both, and that gives us a 4th. So 2 more should finish this edge off. Okay, so in we go again, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, grab it and pull it back through both. So that's 5, and let's do our last one, which should complete this circle. So we're going to go in, we're going to grab the yarn to pull up a loop, grab the yarn again and pull it through both, and that completes our circle. So it's looking a little tidier now. And then to close this round, okay, so this is called a round when you've been round once like that, we're just going to use a slip stitch. So a slip stitch, as before, is you're sliding your hook into the first stitch that you made, and you're pulling the yarn back through that stitch and also through the one on your hook, and it just neatly closes that circle. Okay, now then, just to reiterate, I don't think I made it clear just now, each one of these V shapes, okay, around the edge, these stitches that we've just made, is a stitch. So when we are now going to work around again, do a second round, we're going to be putting our hook literally under both sort of arms of that stitch. Okay, there are patterns and stitches that would call for you to go just in the front loop or just into the back loop, okay, but we're going to be working into the entire stitch, so each of those. Okay, so let's show you a treble now. Okay, so a treble is, as you would expect, being representing a larger number. It's not a double, it's a treble, so it's that bit taller than a double. Okay, now the first stitch we're going to work into going around is not this first loop here, because our stitch that we've got on our hook is emerging from there, if you see. Okay, so we don't want to go into that one. We're going to skip that and move on to this one here. Now, to do a treble, before we actually put our hook in there, we're going to yarn over first. Okay, so it gives us an extra loop before we've even gone in. So then we're going to go in, and then we're going to grab the yarn and pull it up through. So that actually now creates a situation where we have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2. Okay, and then we're going to yarn over again and pull through the second 2. Okay, so that's 1 treble. Now, because we're going around we're going to create a larger circle around this original circle in the middle, we're probably going to need to increase the number of stitches. So we had 6. So you'll find that with a circular pattern, the next round, each round will have an increase in it to allow for the expansion of the size of the circle. So let's do 2 trebles, okay, into the same stitch. So we're going back underneath that same stitch there where we just made this treble. So we're going to yarn over, go into the hole, yarn over and pull it through. So we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to grab the yarn again and pull it through just the first 2. And then we're going to yarn over again and pull it through the second 2 loops. So there we go. We've created 2 trebles there, and you'll see that they are that bit taller. Okay. And then you would move on to your next stitch. Okay, we've done 2 trebles in that one double, if you like. So we're going into the next double crochet that we created before, and we're going to yarn over and go straight into there, pulling up a loop so that we have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through both the first 2, and then yarn over and pull through the second 2. Okay, and then we'll go again. So we're going back into the same place where we just created that stitch. We're going back into the same place to do another one. So we've yarned over, we're going straight in there, pull up so that we have 3 loops on the hook, pull through the first 2 and pull through the second 2, and there we go. So that is what an increase looks like. So you have 6 in the middle, and then we'll end up with 12 trebles around the outside there. And then as you see on the edge, this is the trebles that we've created, these stitches on the edge here. If I turn it on its edge. So when we work the next round after that, we'll be working into these holes beneath these stitches. Okay. Let's do a couple more trebles. So we're going to move on to the next loop here. We're going to yarn over, go under that stitch, pull up the yarn so we have 3, then we're going to pull back through the first 2 and then pull back through the second 2. And one more in the same place, so we're going back into that same hole there, back through the first 2, grab the yarn and pull back through the second 2. So you can see that the first row created a sort of a short little stitch around the center, and the second row now is creating a much bigger, taller stitch, so that will form that around the outside. And then when we get all the way around back to the beginning, we'll basically be joining that round just as we did before with a slip stitch into the very first stitch. So that will probably be into there before we started our trebles. Okay, so hopefully that will give you enough information to be able to work out or work your way through a pattern if you've never crocheted before. So on this video you'll have seen the abbreviations pop up on the screen to help you understand what each stitch is described as on a pattern. And yes, drop me any questions on Facebook, on my Cloud9 Knits Facebook page, on YouTube, beneath the video, and I'll be happy to help. And let me know how you get on.